Welcome, and this is the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network, your number one source of information, education, and entertainment. For honest, responsible, and dependable information, we stand supreme. To stay focused, inspired, and relaxed, choose green. Welcome to the Ifa Orisa Tradition discussion show. And I would like to introduce your regular host, Baba Iwa. Baba, your microphone is off.
Yes, I do pay. Thank you. Well, welcome again to all to our programs, discussions, Ifa Orisa discussions. Right. You know, a lot is happening within our community as we have recently celebrated African Liberation Day. In its continued celebration of African Liberation Day, as we continue to strive for that one Africa, one united people, you know. Say to all Pan-Africanists, the liberation and the fight is still on. The Ifa Orisa community, you know, we like to remember that we're in the period of us closing off of the year, coming into the New Year's, Odo Nifa. You know, a lot is happening in Ile Ife, Okeitashi, you know, with Akbayi and Wapopola and all the different bodies that carry the same name.
Well, I think most recently they had a unity conference where they brought all the organizations and associations and different Isheshe, all who practice the Yoruba tradition together in order for them to be able to move forward as a united body.
Right. So I see. So we are moving there. I've been looking at some of the comments out of the unification conference, and I think there's a lot of things said that we have to be mindful of too. You know, but it is a continual process. I say reparation or repatriation have to always be set by our own agenda and not be set by others. As most time all our development as African in the diaspora. You know, today's program I wanted to speak in terms of as a lot of people going into establishment of temples and religious institute under the name of Ifa. Now you also have the Ifa evangelism, the Ifa schools of thought. They have institutes, Ifa institutes, So in terms of one part in the growth of Ifa, I want to look at Ranti Ifa or Ran Ifa. I think because the root of the word will be Iran Ifa, which come like how the recitations. I think one of the things that give a lot of other practitioners or religious bodies a little more advanced within our whole sphere, because we are connected to them connected to us, but sometimes you see your neighbors growing, but you are not growing. So sometimes there's something that's working for them that's not working for us, or something they are doing that we're not doing in certain spheres. And I was looking at the Iran Ifa, or the Iran Ifa, which is the recitation. And I think as we have a lot of people learning the language, this is an area I think a lot of us should try to more promote or get the younger ones involved, or get our temples involved in what you call recitations of Ifa. Right? Because the Christian does it, we do it as Baptists. We call it a reading of the lessons, the first lesson, second lesson, foundation lesson, where a lesson is read and we come and we compound on the lesson. The Islam does do it by the side where it's called the crier, which he cries out a verse or stanzas of the Quran. And even when the
well, I don't know if it's the adhan you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I
right, that is called for prayers.
Yeah.
And then you have the khutbah, which is the sermons that are done during the the drama when everybody comes together, mostly on a
Yeah,
Friday.
when they come together, one the imam will, or one will be lecturing, but they'll hear the verses of the Quran being recited in Amharic, and he would compound
Arabic,
or he would
Arabic, Baba, Arabic.
Arabic,
Not Amharic, Baba.
right? So, but you understand what I mean in terms of something we could look into,
Well,
because if
Baba,
uh,
not, not I'm somewhat in agreement
uh,
with the importance of learning to recite things
mm,
in Yoruba,
mm,
right? But forgive me,
mm,
but this is where my opinion is a little different from yours. I think it is very, very important before we even go in that direction
mm.
for many of our people to learn basic English. And let me
No,
say why.
well, all right. No, I understand
Let
what
me
I say.
say
I'm
why.
talking about the seasoned persons, because when you have a lot of babalaos or a lot of awos, well, a lot of people announce themselves as babalao. I just try to not fit in that category, so I just say it's a baba Ifa. But a lot of people identify themselves as babalao. So sometimes the conversation they may be having, it might have some validity, but can it mesh against Ifa saying? But if you hear them saying it, you'll take it as that is the word of it.
Well,
There's no
Baba,
Odu.
I think for Babalaos,
Mm,
it is a requisite.
mm,
But for the average practitioner,
mm,
I am saying
mm,
one of the reasons why we have so many difficulties uniting among ourselves is our inability to communicate well
ah,
using English.
all right.
So, my emphasis
Mm,
is on people being able to express their ideas effectively
mm,
through the command of the first language that they use.
mm,
Outside of that, as an Ifa practitioner, it
mm,
would be very good for them to learn the
mm,
basics of the Yoruba language and to be able to
mm.
recite stuff in
Yeah,
Yoruba. So don't
right.
don't take it that I'm saying that
No,
reciting in Yoruba is not important.
no,
But
no,
I'm
no. I
saying
understand what
firstly,
you are
we
saying.
need to understand each other better so we
Mm.
don't have
No,
so many misunderstandings.
right. Now, the position I'm bringing it up, at, we as seniors, or we that are already supposed to be at the advance in the practice, because yes, we have people coming in, but when they come and they are still learning even just the alphabet or to catchy tone. But I'm saying outside of us, our training period, in our worship, in our festivals, in the things we are having that is not in the training capacity, training level, but at the practicing level, we should have people be able to do the recitations as well as a person doing the English translation or the English interpretation or discussions as to what it is if I saying. Inside, you don't have to exactly translate what is said, but we could translate, give information as to what is if I is telling us to understand our practice. Yodo, I think it's Odimeji. Be sure. Yes, Odimeji. Which would I talk about the Alaharang Gukan Awo Oriota, which is like a deity that comes to the earth and it comes and it checks on Babalaos or comes and checks on Awos. And he would ask them, how do you decipher Ifa? And some will say, when I see one, I mark one. When I see two, I mark two. When I see, so he would take them and hit them with a club on the head, put them in a bag, and then put them in a bigger bag, and he move on again, and he continue to ask things to check how do they decipher Ifa. Now that all teaches you the process of marking Ifa. Even in the story, it teaches about different deities or different levels of Babalaos or different offices in the practice. And that Odu, it also will speak in terms of the different offerings that are required for a particular situation as guided by that particular Odu. So now it is a way of telling a story But in the story has a lot of teaching. But it will be a long, long story if you really go to the story, to the amount of Babylon you will go to and how to get the point. But in terms of, as a listen it as a recitation, first, the senior ones allow themselves to get more in depth and bring the manifestation of Ilah. Then you have the younger ones hearing the appreciation of the gospels or the words of Ifa being expounded. So that is how one of the way of learning Ifa is hearing it too. As they hear it and hear the different tones. So when you do reach a point of reading, by hearing it, you could understand what it and connect with it. And now you have the interpreter, or which will be the sermon master, or the person doing the sermon, teaching of the messages. So we don't have to really hear word for word what Ifa is saying, but we're hearing the chant, but now we'll also hear the part where the teacher or the Babalawo or whoever is doing the message can allow the person to understand what is the message of Ifa. So this becomes the teachings of Ifa. We does do ancestor prayers, but we're still talking about why we does do ancestors prayers. But we don't really expound, okay, the importance and the necessity, and going to some of the ancient teaching that told you why Ogun is celebrated in the day and why Oro is celebrated in the night, and they give you the reasons for the difference. So you hear, again, a teaching as to the tradition. Also, you understand the importance of worshiping the ancestors, but you also would appreciate now, you come like you're in a worship. It's not taking away what people like, because a lot of people, when they go to prayers, the prayers must be jumping, drumming, and singing whole day. They're happy with that. But they're saying there are people who would appreciate to really have a relaxed service, feel the same energy, but also feel that energy internally by the messages coming, and now they have a conversation to carry through the week, and they have things where they could question on when they meet an elder and they want to now ask deeper into understanding the mysteries of Ifa or the teachings of Ifa. All right. Hey, I jealous here with the water. Right. In our do Otura upon in this stanza, he says, Yono yonyo lawo yonyo yonyo. Yonyo yonyo lawo yonyo yonyo. Awo obalo di fa fu oba. Oba no sukun apao okaye. Oba ni yo kamo won. Ayi fa boruku. Oba kawo. Oba ni yo kamo won. To be happy is the hour of happiness. To be joyful is the hour of joyfulness. The hour of the king was the one who cast Ifa for the king. When he had no control over his territory, the king will be able to contain their conspiracy unless the ring cannot contain the finger. The king will be able to contain their conspiracy. Now, in terms of the story, the stanza, it speaks about a king and control of his, environment, his territory. It will speak about the significance of a particular ring that has a fit on the finger. You know, as we say, they always had the ring on the king's finger and they had to kiss it in submitting to the king. And so in the story, it is recommended a ring as a sacrifice for the client to be able to overcome conspiracies of the subject, whoever is planning against him. Now, that is a short stanza where we can say, okay, when you're trying to move forward, there's always conspiracies. Even sometimes I show you went through conspiracies. I myself go through conspiracies. Everybody will go through conspiracies. But the conspiracy can be dealt with by doing the ebo. So in that case, the king did the ebo of a ring, or the client would do a ebo of a ring, and the conspiracy would no longer come against them. Now, it's us to teach people that it's not just a get a ring and they say go and charge it and they put it up because there's a conspiracy against you. But it's us as zealous now to carry to give you the understanding that whatever the situation, Ifa always has a solution to solve the problem. No matter how high the person may be or how low, there will always be a conspiracy against us. We don't see politicians that say there's a conspiracy against them. big officials, dignitaries, even priests, priestesses, they always have some. And how do we come about to deal with it? But to be happy is the hour of happiness. In life, what do we look for as hours? What do we look for as initiates of Orisha? Now, if it is, we get the highest title, Olowo, Araba, Oni, what will really be the result of us really embracing Ifa? It had to be something that gave us happiness. You understand? Bring us joyfulness. So sometimes we try to like, but where do we look? Do we look at what is the bigger picture in this? Yes, okay, everybody learn Ifa, everybody follows Iwapele, everybody. So all of we just walk around, Ababoye, Agbato, Orion. Are we not now going to expound ourselves to find some way now where happiness can be the ultimate? Because that way, if I like the Babalawo who was here from South Carolina, Ifa Obafemi, all right, as he said, the Pegas taught him that Ifa is happiness. Being Ifa is allowing to be happy. Because if we have blessing of life, blessing of children, blessing of money, blessing of wealth, blessing of all good things of life, blessing of the Orishas and Ifa, then we're supposed to be happy. But if we don't understand what is to be happy in Ifa, would we ever really find that happiness? Because I say, okay, I get everything in Ifa, okay, what next? So I go in and see, well, Ifa, okay, I get wife, I get child, I get money, I get house, I get wealth, I get if I know what it is I need to get now. Because we tend to don't even measure what is happiness and life expressional continuation in our tradition, because they barely hear us really talking about what is expectation of Ifa from his followers, where most of the time all our sessions really just speaks about what is the rules and regulations of practitioners. Understand? I'll get the next one. So I'm just saying, when recitation means sometimes we must create an avenue where it's not for newcomers or newcomers, but just as how we do in the discussion, we must create an avenue where people could just sit on a Sunday evening and listen to the recitations of the words of Ifa and be able to soak it in and meditate upon. And then when they go to the temples, the Awos or the Babalawos or Olowos, they could ask a question based on that teachings and get more enlightenment because the recitation. But now we have to find avenues now to really get the message beyond just the worship, but get where it now becomes a part of our collective socializing. Yes, it's good we could have a discussion here. You have a nice program on Wednesday where you're giving understanding as to the practice. Yeah, you have other programs on health. But all these messages supposed to come to one thing where we could basically just have a nice, joyous evening as a family worshippers of Ifa and be able to know, sit with our children and be able to not have to work, but we could still be able to be entertained with the blessings of Ifa. Right? Now, it had one I was reading with Orun Miller. Ejiobe has so much a story that's taking in so one direction. That thing. But this is why one of the things I want to try to at least try to get other elders and members of council of elders and things, that at least we can have an avenue where we could bring them and have them do a recitation, somebody do, and they could share the words of Ifa in English, but get the words. So you're killing two birds with one stone. So the persons who learn in Ifa could sometimes hear, because there's different ways of chanting Ifa. You understand? Everybody does want to recite and read Oriki, but some of the Oriki is Iyere. Some of them have to have a response. Some of them is confirmations, and there's response for the confirmation. Because sometimes when you're saying something Ashe, where Ashe is not even the response, the Ashe is supposed to hear, You know, we are in agreement with that, what you are saying. Son? And then you have those where you say, Ashesheo, because now you're saying there's something to come. We can't just say make it come to pass, but there's something we have to work towards to bring it together. So we Ashesheo. And then it's Ashe, where we confirm it. Then there's also To, where it is sealed. We seal that, To. No questions asked again. So there's a lot can be learned out of the recitations and the messages of Ifa. And I think the more we could expose some of the things, as well as it gives now the younger ones something to aspire to come to. Right? Because right now everybody just want to be a diviner. I don't know if yesterday I polished my board since last week, Wednesday. I didn't even want to put dust in it. What's that like when you look and shine it? You understand? Because you know, like I didn't even hurry to do a divination again because like it don't even make sense. Because I mean, you're doing divination. Now I can communicate with my opinion and communicate with things. But when I sit to do dafa, and you really put out that energy and you bring down Ela and you bring yourself to that level of consciousness, and you're sharing the message of Ifa as Ifa will portray it, and you give your understanding interpretation, and then people still not clear. Well, they say, you know, so I mean they say, well, and they say, who's they? Well, people that say, and some Baba from Nigeria did say, and somebody on Facebook did say, you know. So it's better, okay, go on Facebook and ask the question. I don't bother me to ask me to do that for that give you an answer the question. But they're saying, when we expose the wisdom, we allow the thinking to be more clear to people. Because that same story in Odimeji, it shows you that yes, a man might be a proficient and an elder Babalawo, but when he sees one, he marks one. He sees two, he marks two. Now, non-initiates or non-people may not even understand that aspect of doing dafa, but by hearing the recitation and hearing the story of Odimeji read out and explained, then when somebody goes to sit down to do divination and they see what is in the hand of the hour, because the hour had to show them, they show what it is here to mark. Because if I don't know or I never heard what they're supposed to mark and I see them mark, they have one in their hand and they mark one, I wouldn't even know that if he's doing it correct or not. But somebody who would have heard the story and heard the teachings, when they say no, Baba, that was one, they're supposed to mark two. And you can't argue. You just have to agree that he have to mark two. So you're not to say you're putting people to argue with Babalaos, but you're saying that you allow the wisdom of Ifa to spread, that even the work, if a Babalao might slip, somebody could feel comfortable to tell him, Baba, well, this should be so, or this should be this way. All right? So he said in Ejogbe, Orimla Lodi Sabini, Bolodi Sakoso Barami Akbonegu, Gigi Timoji, mo bá bobo ọmọ ìrọmọlẹ níbi tí wọn bẹ́ẹ̀ ní fòmí ẹgbẹ́ pẹ̀rọ ilé wọn ní ìkíní ẹ̀mí ríwá àtẹ̀mí òní mo ní àjẹ́ ní mo ní àyà ní mo ní ọmọ ní mo ní ire gbogbo ní àwọn lẹ́mí ní ìwà àtẹ̀mí òní wọn ní tó bá bẹ́ẹ̀ dẹ̀lẹ́ kí ní ìwà ìwápo abẹ́ ọ̀gọ̀ ọ̀gà mi tú ìwojówójó kí ní fàdí borí mi àpẹẹrẹ kí na fàkàrà bò mọ̀lẹ́ ẹgbà tí wọ́n wẹ̀ wo ni kò Ifa. Now that is a question. But I just think, Orimia inquires how the situation is. And I responded, it is fine. Very early in the morning, I met Iromale followers, where they were performing ritual to Mother Earth with snails. They asked me to state what I was lacking. I said that it is wealth. I responded that it is a spouse. I told them that I needed children. I also told them I needed all area of life. They told me that when I reach my home, I should wash my master's hands cleanly. I should clean my master's back thoroughly. I should use a fowl to perform ritual to my Ori. I should also use bean cake to perform ritual to my ancestors. When I look at the back, what did I see? I saw wealth coming forward to me in abundance. And when I returned to look back at my back, what did I see? I saw good spouses coming towards me. She looked beautiful and elegant. When I also looked backwards, what did I see? I saw many children coming towards me. They all looked strong and healthy. When I looked back, what did I see? I saw all area of life coming towards me. They were all sufficient and satisfying. Then I decided that we shall be mounting horses in the practice of our profession. Unless if Ejogbe is not the owner of the world, horses shall be mounted in the practice of our profession. Now, in this stanza, they can identify that what it is we work and we aspire for in our practice of our profession, as Babalawos, as initiates, as whoever. We have to remember, when we speak about Ori and what our Ori would have chosen, these would have been the things Ori would have chosen before he left heaven to come to the earth. Blessing a wife, blessing a spouse, blessing this, and then they'll say, okay, I'm going to be a doctor, lawyer. Some people put in that, right? But these are the fundamental basic principles of blessings that supposed to make us, remember, you say, hour of happiness, hour of joyfulness. This is what brings happiness and joy to people's life. Our social, cultural whole thing maybe have changed by our different influences, but these are the basic elements that are supposed to bring us certain joy and happiness. Even in the story, it will recommend snail. Now, in a stanza, we can teach people to understand. So when you boy snail, it really means also that the results or the blessing that you're looking for, it is not going to come in a hurry, but it's by patience, it will all manifest. In time, all will come to you. But that's why the significance of this name. So by going into the stanzas or the stories in recitation, it's not only about teaching, okay, this is the above for that and this is the above for that, but teaching the significance of the above and what the above now will kind of identify. So you know what certain things, everybody, okay, I take a akuko. Many people don't even understand that Akuko also, you have to go to the story of Akuko, where Akuko was a man who gave himself up, gave his life for the benefit of others. So when you wash the foot of the cock, you wash it in significance of Akuko. So that cock or the animal that you are going to kill is going to give up his life for your benefit. So rather than we just say, well, okay, this is your offering to give for this and this is your offering, that have its part and those people have their role for that. But just saying in terms of the Iran Ifa or the recitations of Ifa, it can allow people to get all those little intricate messages that are in Ifa in appreciative way, where it just be as put to them where they memorize the morals and the principles and the rules as it's expected. So we ain't gonna be arguing about issues about this and then this part I practice say you could do that part say, but how we could do it in the best of way. How we could do it where it wouldn't have no conflict.
Baba, one of the viewers made a comment. I don't know if you want to comment on that. Is in response to something you said earlier.
All right. All right, let me widen the screen so I can see it. All right. Some kind of take correction and they feel that they're always right with a good listener. They're a good listener. Well, is sometimes when we talk about correction, I think that does be our problem. We always try to say somebody's wrong, right? Because right now we have a lot of things. Even personally, right now, there's something happening wrong. But I just hearing and I'm watching reaction of people. And people are basing things on their Christian principles and judging Ifa's directions to their Islamic principles or their Hebrewic principles or their Kabbalistic principles. And then they are saying, okay, well, this is not accepted and this one is accepted. And this, so sometimes when we have to talk about corrections, we have to be in correction as to what all are we supposed to agree with And once we agree with these principles and I go against what we agree with, then I can be corrected. Sometimes there are a lot of things to correct it. You have to now come to a full agreement. Like, okay, today I was listening to some songs, and I say, well, oh, why they say that they're saying it wrong in a sense, but the whole community believe it that way. So who would be wrong? So if I'm saying I'm putting out issue, so I have a calabash of ashes, a calabash of water, and I carry it outside, say I put issue outside. Now, I kind of wrong, but if I say no, I'm carrying an offering to issue outside so you won't bring trouble inside. Well, I might be wrong, or I cannot be wrong saying they're wrong. But if I to say they're wrong, I have to give a different understanding or give a wisdom and show well thing. And unless they agree, they will always be correct and I will be wrong. So when I just teach, okay, when we take the ashes and the water, it is a ritual of eschewing, 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 not issuing. So we eschewing the negative energies. That is why you have the circle of polarities where we go around the circle and we do the invocation of issue and the ritual of removing negative energies into the elements of purification, which is ashes and water. So any negativities, any bad luck, water, clean yourself, or take ashes to get rid of the hex or the spell. So that is the ritual of eschewing that is what be done. They go in the opposite direction, so it's supposed to not be carried with the people. So if you go in the same direction, the people, then it will stay with you. So they go the opposite direction, so it not be in motion with the people. So you go counterclockwise to the movement of the circle, and you take it outside. You have just eschewed the community or the space of negative energies. When you put it outside, you put oil and water, or you put some rum or oil, or you can just pour water for the ajoguns and all negative forces that they remain outside there and don't bring disruption inside the ritual. Now, some people say they go on the feed issue, then who's wrong and who's the correct? So until we can come to agreement, we have to just take the teachings and understanding and apply the right teachings. Even if I'm wrong, persons apply the right teachings in their practice, because Ifa Orisa is not a religion to say, but there's a religious aspect of it, but there's a way of life. The teachings of Ifa is applied to your livelihood. It is applied to our growth and development, personal. So that why Owafemi or Rigunwa, he does talk about the personal person. So it's supposed to find our personal connection. Is the practice, or is what I'm doing, is it in line with my destiny? Is it in tune with my Orisha? So I'm eating plenty palm oil and that Obatala is my Baba, and I find I'm getting a lot of upset stomach.
Baba, I don't know, but a lot of the things you've just described buttresses what I said earlier, where I said that I have a slight difference in opinion.
Yeah, well, there's a
a lot of the apparent differences in practices, where a lot of leaders and elders and shrine heads disagree. To me, it's purely a matter of people having mastery over the way they communicate with others. Hence, I said earlier, to me, it is more important that we learn to communicate in the tongue that we speak more effectively, so we do not have as many misunderstandings. Let me demonstrate with what you just said there. A lot of people, it doesn't matter whether they come from Christian, Islamic, whatever background. The subject is not whether there is an absolute right way and an absolute wrong way. If you belong to a tradition, and this tradition is practiced widespread among millions of followers all over the world, you will most definitely find that people belonging to different parts of the world having different cultural influences would do things in a way that is comfortable to them. As a result of which, when compared to practitioners of the same belief system or tradition in another part of the world, you are going to see some variations, right? Now, if one leader is not able to comprehend this, I would say largely it is due to maybe their lack of exposure to a wider understanding of the tradition. And not just that is the problem, but the main problem, I believe, is what I spoke of earlier, and that is one's ability to communicate effectively what their views and opinions are on the tradition or the practice. There are many persons, not just in Trinidad, in the region and in the diaspora on a whole, who follow different lineages. Some people even follow lineages from different parts of the world, as a result of which there would be leanings and influences coming out of the particular geographical space and the locally practiced tradition. If we all understand that and we can all communicate effectively to each other about these differences, then there would be no fight. But if we cannot communicate properly, we have not mastered the language that we speak to transfer our ideas to each other
Which is English.
properly, we are going to have major
No problem.
disagreements and problems. And
Yeah.
this is what we are experiencing currently.
Uh,
So, despite all the good efforts and good intentions of bringing people together, one of the qualities of Omoluabi and the first listed quality is one's
Oroshishu.
ability to communicate. And if we cannot even communicate, my brother, in our first language, we would find it even more complicated
No,
to communicate in any other language.
you put that in a kind of way because the foundation of our practice, as some would announce, is we are a oral tradition. Oral traditions mean is a tradition that is based on us speaking and sharing and communicating. Right? Now that simple thing like the eschewing. Normative years that has been a discussion, and that was something was discussed taught to me by Olori Jeffrey Bedu at some time in our discussions. He has deceased now, so I didn't want to say he say and he thing, but that was a discussion we had, and that was one I think was explaining that even when you join the circle, if you see a male moving and you're coming in as a male, you wait till a female passes and then you go behind the female, so you keep that male polarity, a positive and negative, you know, in the vibration of the joining the circle. So our actions, all our practice has some spiritual science it, has some spiritual connotation to it. It is not just about a prayer. That is say some people could keep up prayers and some people know how to do the rituals of the practice. Now, in terms of what I say in terms of the word, that is very important that we should be able to communicate and be able to comprehend what one is proposing and what one might be have a different opinion or a constructive criticism that we can measure, because Ifa, Orisha, whatever practice, what we do today came about by something happened. So horse borrows somebody's tail, and now the horse has a beautiful tail, and that message telling, do not lend something precious to you if you know you ain't sure you get it back.
So, Baba, I think we
Huh?
have agreement because I think
Yeah.
what you were saying is that Baba Bedu was able to very effectively
Mm.
transfer to you his understanding through the communication process. So it would be an indicator
Mm.
that he had a clear command
Mm.
over the basics of the language we
Now,
communicate in it.
now, if you heard that man speak, Bedu, he was a theater what? He was a man on London stage, human stage. So when you hear he portray, when you see he does a ritual, I know you could look at some of the video with him in Orisha, even when you see he bring about the Orisha songs, he brought it out with a level of authority and clarity. And even if you think, but you just say, no, man. By the time no, man, you know, okay, now you're going wrong. Stop right there. Don't even shift. That's what you're correct here. You understand? And that was his kind of respect elders would have would have received from their devotees and their people. Even if some and whatever bacchanal and they will say that when it comes to the business, there was a certain level of respect. And people always have to know, well, it not respect because they talk about some spirit and they go hit their spirit blow. Because in a program the other day, I have to ask if it's a different spirit. No, because if I say a spirit will deal with you if you show disrespect long time, I think, well, whatever manifesting in Pali now may not be spirits. There will be something else. Because spirit do not change because spirit is governed by spiritual law. Spiritual law don't change. The principles of spirituality don't change. We might modernize how we may do things. Look how we are communicating now. We are communicating through electronic system. Before we'd have to go and sit down, we either meet by the parley or sit down under the tree and be sharing this conversation. Look how we are just not talking to the members in the church. We are talking to people in their own space, in a different country, in a different space. So things may change, but the spiritual principles do not change. Spiritual law, that is the law of the universe. Also, Lord, be honest, it's only mankind that's try to change the will. I hear China's trying to create a son and somebody in there trying to put a womb into a man. So when it comes to spirituality and principles, we always have to maintain, and it is always about our development. In our stanza from the Odu or Warren Oni Sinja or Warren Iwori, this is taken about understanding Ifa by Faladay. Right? Understanding Ifa. Akin Dani awo ode ekba o Dani awo ode jesha se tie foju onashile tie nito egbe awo ode otumoba di fun lo de otumoba nibi egungun araba be anu power tibi tira ase bayi lego nuta enikan ogogogo bi ara ilodi ase bayi lego nuta. The idiots of Egbaland, the imbeciles of Ijesha, why do we leave the right path and choose to tread in the wilderness? The inhabitants of Otumoba, these were the declaration of Ifa to them at Otumoba, where the white silk cotton tree, the Araba, was killing them and all their descendants. So this is how foolish you are. No one can be so foolish as to surpass the inhabitants of Elodi. So this is how foolish you are. So even in the stanza of Ifa, people, we have to question people, are you really thinking correct? You are seeing a problem and you're seeing that there's no solution to the problem, but yet you are still there like an imbecile. You're still there in your foolishness. So, and this is as the person asks about correcting people. You could only give the right information. And you could only put the avenues such as these to give people a level of understanding. But it's people now to make decisions, make the right actions. Because in correcting, we can't force nobody to go the way that we oppose. The government does do it every Friday in Parliament. They make some law for people to follow, and they still have to think, and they have to put 250,000 because if somebody don't follow the law. But we have to remember, once we come back to who we are, once we come, and that is basically saying when we come back to consciousness, when we remember that we are immortal beings in a mortal body, here for earthly experience to make a contribution to fix this broken calabash that we call the world. And then we're supposed to go back to the one source that we all are part of and say, well, okay, we try. How many times did all the gods of the world try to make a better world? Because here by the story of the Titans, this one, and all the stories will talk about the gods fighting about good and evil and who want to destroy the world. But it is us. We are the expansion of, we are also the microcosm of the macrocosm. When we talk about universe, we are what makes up the universe. We are all in a verse that are part of the universe. I don't know if I'm going outside the Ifa context, but when we talk about Akamara, the beginning of the end, which was the end of the beginning, where the first source decided to expand itself. And it started with one speck of dust. And that speck of dust became to many things, stars, planets, and it comes down to human beings. That he put this deity, Olodumare, to do our responsibilities, inhabit the earth. Olodumare put the responsibility into others. They put Olorun to be responsible and control the heavens and the earth. They put Ayeta for this. And we had order, and everybody have a rule to follow. Everybody else is following the rule except Enya or humans. So when they say we can become Enya's human, perfect human, it is say yes, we can. But we have to remember and we have to come to realization, hey, it is us to wake up in our consciousness. Come out of this foolish thing that it is about this, how I look, how I smelling, how I looking good. We have to come out of that because yes, you can look good, but what about that person that is inside? So when people Iwalewa, they say no, that's Iwalewa. That's my character. So whatever you see coming out of me, that is me. You can like it, you can dislike it. That is because that was the name that was given from initiation. I just say I don't carry the names of the Olowos who initiate because if I go and do a next initiation, I'll be out 3 or 4 names after my name, and then I might forget that I'm supposed to name Daniel John in the English. So whoever choose, everybody has a choice. But the main part, we have awakened. Once we have initiated the saying that your name represents that spirit being, that is who is here. That is the one that Odu revealed as the being that left Orun to come to Aye. So you want to say Iwalewa, my beauty, yes, beauty, my character. But the Odu also says that people will just hate me. Why? Something because sometimes their negative energy can work with my positive energy, or my positive energy can work with their negative, or my negativity can work with their positive. So they just hate me. Okay. But they also Odu will also say, you'll do marvelous things. So when I look back, I really did some marvelous thing. I and all us wonder, when I really did that. Okay. So your Odu is expressing the you, not the Daniel John, not me, but the inner conscious self, the Ori. We also what? Your Ori is the highest Orisha. Your Ori is the one who blesses you. Your Ori is the one who made the choices. Your Ori. So your Ori is identified through your initiated name, through Odu, because that is the spirit being that is residing in this physical body. So your mother and father who birthed in the physical world, they gave you a name. When they go to the priest will say, this is the name you came with. So we have to bring people to understand how do we converse Ifa outside of recite. Yes, it's good. The recitation just for you to hear and appreciate the words of Ifa in its original form. But as we have to be able to expound the wisdom of Ifa that those who has not even learned the alphabet yet can understand why they have to learn the alphabet. So if you don't understand why you need to learn, open the phone. Why I need to know that? Because if you're talking to energy, you want to talk to the energy language. But in talking, you want to be sure you know what you're saying. So when I say open the phone, I'm saluting and showing gratitude to the spirits of heaven. I know opening phone all around. So the expression will come out because you understand your relationship. I say we need people, good recitation, good I say, oh, let's put the word into command of the Yoruba language to do some good recitations, but you also need good persons to share the wisdom in the first language outside of our traditional language. Because right now, I think they have problems. Some of them have problems in terms of the traditional language in the homeland, not taking away where they reach. But I'm saying they still have to fight with the majority Christian, majority Islam, the majority other practice that have Isheshe or Onishe people trying to get themselves a footing. Because even the unification, you see, they identify, they have to be serious in the politics. They have to be serious in the social structure of their society. We have to know we have the advantage in our society because we have foundational roots. I don't put aside baptism. I just tell people baptism is the foundational roots because baptism is what will take you from this physical being and take you into a pathway. And then when you meet the Africans and the Indians and everything, and they say, okay, you have to, when you go in that level now, you just come home. So we always have to remember show gratitude.
All right, Baba. Basically, we have 9 more minutes, sir.
All right. So as I'm saying, the recitation really mean we had to create avenues where we could really put some social program for like a Sunday. Every Sunday I just put on Radio Jagrati. I have to listen to the pundits because there's some nice story and there's some nice song and nice sermon. Now, we can do the same on our programs where people can come and listen, but not just, okay, we always talking. Now, we might talk this is a conversation. Then you have the program where you speak in terms of a lecture. But in terms of where basically you can just put on a meditational thing, you're hearing the Yoruba, but then you're hearing the conversation of Ifa relating to us. I think it could bring improvement. So when we have issues, we can base the issues on principles of Ifa or the laws of Ifa and not taking religious laws and try to measure spiritual principles by it. And then we come, okay, but when you're looking, but if I don't speak of this in Ifa religion, that is, you might find that in Christian religion. So we'll be sure when we're speaking of our tradition and we're speaking of issues and we're dealing with social issues, we can be speaking in one language, one tongue, but also the tongue that the universe or the spiritual universe that we connect with could understand. Because the Hindu, they know when they talk to Lakshmi who provides the wealth. The Hindu know that Hanuman gives you protection. He's the messenger. He's like Yeshu. He's the quick answer to your prayers. They know and they can identify the deities and they know what they should ask for. They know there's rituals that you could do on your own. Remember, we have the Osher Day, daily prayer cycles, 4-day prayer cycles, 16-day prayer cycles, 91-day prayer cycles. How we could reach the 91-day? Because the society would have been practicing the 16-day. How they reach that 16-day? Because the churches would have been doing the 9-day, and every Sunday they'd be doing the Nissan Ifa. And how would they be successful in Nissan Ifa? Because all the devotees would have been doing the 5 days before they come to the temple. And how they'll get the practice for the 5 days? Because they use every morning, they sit with their family and they do the daily prayers. So as the same script structure which you use, Oderemo, the daily prayers is an opening to the 4-day prayers. So the 4-day prayers just extended to give you 2 lines added. The 16 days add a little, the 7 days in the temple, it add a thing because it allows for the sermon for the ministers or the Babalawos or the Baba Ifas to give their sermon and expound on a Odu. 16 days is when now you practice the same prayers, the same basic prayers you're doing, advancing, because now we're doing an Ebo and you know how to show and give an Ebo, or if you're not doing the Ebo, you understand what Dariji means. You understand?
Yes, Baba. And then all agreed.
So, you understand? So what's it? There's so much avenues, especially for we to have the children sit down to listen something. The children should not be tortured to listen
Baba,
me lecture.
we just get to it and get it done, because
Yeah, but
we
so,
don't have much time to be doing all that amount of trying to coax people to do what they
no.
know they ought
No,
to be doing.
all right. What I'm saying, why I like to say it, because when people see me doing it, they won't be confused because they say, yes, Baba say you don't do that. Anything I say, be careful. Even if I say I go rob you, I might come and rob you. So I just try to always say a good thing. There's beauty in my character, so I can be a good thief.
All right, Baba. Now
You
you're
understand?
beating. I had to
But
put up a disclaimer,
yeah,
Baba.
uh,
The
but I
views
just say
expressed by the host is
uh,
not necessarily the views of the
that will be the
network.
truth. But I just
Baba,
say
we not encouraging no robbing and all
no,
that.
but
But
just say
anyway,
in our
we have
character, in our
we have
nature,
5 more minutes.
5 minutes.
So
So
let
I
me
just
just
say
do this plug-in. Go ahead.
is that when we share things, it's not we just sharing in terms of showing, it's showing that if somebody is thinking of the same way, come and link with us, talk with us. So basically, you could give your idea, say, oh, I have a good thing, but I think this could work this way, and I think this could work that way, and we could all work together because it's not my plan, it is a community thing. It's not my vision, it's a community vision. I have to live here, so I want, when I, yeah, I tell the people in the bank, I say, well, here, what? Yes, I'm following, looking at all the rules, but also we have traditional rules. So if it is all I have to buy a cow to see my books, all I have to make sure I have all the money to buy the cow, but I can still see the books after offer the cow.
All
Set
right.
your rules.
Okay. Well, for all the viewers who are looking at the stream and who would see the recordings, the videos of the program would be able to be, or would be seen, or would be posted on the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network, the Ifa Orisa Tradition Discussion Group, the Ifa Bemero Home of Ifa Orisa Tradition, the Ifa Orisa Tradition Teaching Group, the Ifa Orisa Institute of Sacred and Divine Sciences, the Ifa Orisa Community Congress, Ianti's Diasporic Venture, and also on YouTube at the Ifa Bemero Home of Ifa Orisa Tradition. Now we have studies and classes that are available. We have Ifa studies every Tuesday at 5 p.m. at the Barataria Community Center, where myself and Baba Ifa Wale, we both teach and we are trained as well as initiated to both. We did Hand of Ifa as well as Obatala at initiations. We are both from respective shrines. We didn't originate at the same shrine. I myself came from Ile Shoka, and Baba Ifa Wole came from the Isam shrine. We teach Ifa based on the Odeorimo lineage through our Falokun. All right, Baba, I know you would like to plug in your activities also
All
so
right.
that the viewers could follow up for studies, etc.
All right. So what I'm launching out, I launch it on African Liberation Day, the Iwa Lewa Institute of Ascension and Ori Development. But it will be a online program added to on-site practice, but it will be further advanced. So later on, I would let people know more on it. But also, it's still being culmination of what we're doing. It's just that different avenues you want to reach at different people, so you allow other people's spaces to be involved or connected with what we are doing. All right.
Okay, so with that, people, viewers, folks, members of the community,
I say,
elders, and
happy Odun.
those too who want to violate the human rights of others, we say Odabo, and we hope that you would be with us next week. Odabo.
So I will say happy New Year's, happy Odun Ifa. All right, as we closing our years, let us hope that Ifa brings us more blessing in this new year. Aburo aboye, abo shishe.
Odabo.
Odabo.